Hi, I'm Pantazi. We've been working on Ohan Soken's secret Kyusho notes, and we've been building them up and going through the notes one at a time, and we've been going through the anatomical dissection on a three-dimensional model. We've been going through the effects and also discussing what Ohan Soken himself said and the medical ramifications on the body and how it changes the physiology, the functionality, etc. Now, if you use two of them together, you're going to have a major impact. And I've decided to do a film, it's called the double RAS attack. And the double RAS attack was inspired by Ed Parker and my meeting with him and discussing one of the attributes of American Kempo. Now, I studied American Kempo as well, but I'll get into that story a little later in that filming. But what is occurring is this knockout, it's devastating. And I've used two different targets from Ohan Soken's Kyusho notes. And I've used the Satan and the Keichu. Now, when you double up on these attacks of Ohan Soken, even though they're meant to be single, one-off type of attacks for simplicity in combat, this technique involves two of them. But it happens so rapidly, like an American Kempo strike, they're rapid succession, that it really devastates the body. And again, this is using the Satan target, which is coming up, and also Keichu, which is already, well, it will be releasing, but by the time you see this video, it may have already released, because they're set up on a weekly basis, where we do for YouTube a small excerpt just to introduce you to the target and the ramifications and some possible kata movements that are involved in it. And then we take the extended version where we do the anatomical three-dimensional study. We discuss the ramifications to a finer degree, and also how to get to them correctly, the right trajectory, the right tools to work with, and also the demonstration of them being done. So you can see the ramifications and not just listen to someone talking about them. And this is a very important knockout. This is a great knockout for you if you're in a clench position or work on the ground as well, in close fighting. It's modified a little bit if you're working on the ground for obvious reasons, but once you see this, you'll understand that it's a very powerful technique. There's worth in studying the Ohan Soken's notes to a better degree. And you'll notice that these targets, if you are on the extended videos and you're watching these targets being demonstrated, you'll notice that these are targets that I've been using for decades, and they're very successful, and that's why I'm bringing the in-depth coverage to the Ohan Soken Kyusho targets. Today I wanted to take you through one of my favorite knockouts. This is just cool, and one of the reasons why I think it's cool is it's because its influence and its inspiration came from Ed Parker. Now, I had trained and ranked under Professor Nick Serio, who was a training partner of Ed Parker under Professor William Chow. And because of that influence, I wanted to see the divergence in the different Kempo styles. Now, Mr. Parker has one methodology and one style. Mr. Serio had another, now both deceased. But it's good that we bring on their traditions and we try to forward the information that we knew. Now, again, I met Mr. Parker in the 1980s, and I had a question for him. Now, when I was studying his style, what I was noticing that they were always taking their hands and they were coming off their body with reflections or redirections or bouncing off their body. And I had to ask them why. Now, I had different ideas of my own, but I wanted to get it from Mr. Parker, why he had developed that method, where he got it from, and how he used it. And the answer he gave me was really great. Now, he said that if you pull your hand back from a strike or the opponent, you're taking your inertia and you're sending it backwards. To make that inertia come right back toward the opponent is going to be a lot tougher. So what he said is he bounced off. So the energy would be repelled from his body back into his hand and then subsequently, of course, into the opponent. So being a Kyusho practitioner, I had to try to figure out how I could adapt to the Kyusho or integrate the Kyusho or what the Kyusho and this lesson would show me. So I developed this knockout. Now I've used this knockout many times in seminars, classes, and even in a video. And it's one of my favorites because it does something very profound to the human body. Now, I call it the double RAS knockout. Now, the double RAS knockout is because it affects the RAS 2 different times. It's not just one shock. Now, in one of my other videos, I showed an RAS attack. Now, before I get into what that attack was, let me explain what an RAS is. It's called a Reticular Activating System, and they go by the RAS for short. And it's the conscious control centers in the brainstem of the human body. Now, they're affected in many different ways. Now, in Kyusho, I've done this many times. I've described this in a few of my different videos and showed a knockout one time of this movement that's almost reminiscent of the repel this way, but it's coming back. So what that does is it affects the RAS in a very dramatic and sharp way. The body has to shut down. It loses consciousness to go completely limp, so the body doesn't break, so systems don't fail. All right, and it brings it to an altered consciousness level or altered level of consciousness. Now, I figured, okay, a double RAS attack would be even more profound. And how would I do that? Well, the answer was simply in the Kempo bouncing of the body. Okay, the hands reverberating off the chest or off the limbs. That's what gave me the idea for this double RAS knockout. And it is very profound. And how we do that is we shock it, again, not at the same time. You can't, first of all, shock the RAS in 2 different manners at the same time. There has to be a slight delay. And the delay, as I've explained in many different videos and classes and seminars around the world, is that the nervous system works in a split-second timing. Now, if you're throwing a multiple attack or a multi-attack, you don't want to hit at the same time because it doesn't alter the messaging to the brain. If you work within a 1-2 type of an action, or better if you know music, quarter beats, instead of a da-da as a full beat, or a da-da as a half beat, you did it as a quarter beat. That seems to be what I found works best for me. Now, it may be different for everybody. You have to find your own timing. So using the timing, the altered timing on a double attack against the RAS system, I'm able to get a profound effect and without a lot of power. This is used for in-close fighting. Now, as you've watched the videotapes from the beginning to the end, I'm teaching in a sequential order. And we started with, of course, slow experimentation just to find locations and targets, explain the targets, show the effects on the human being. Then we got into more active practicing of the targets. So you could get the benefit of hitting these in dynamic motion. Then we introduced many different stress levels, many different fighting ranges, up to the close range fighting abilities. Now, this is where I believe the fight actually begins, when your hands are on your opponent, not at a distance. That's just a timing, distancing. You're feeling out the opponent to find your way in. I believe the fight actually starts when you're locked together, okay, whether it be in a standing position or on the ground. And this is where Kyusho really shines. You can hit them at distance in a sparring match or the beginning of a fight. It's quite possible, and we've trained it, and it works wonderfully. But the real best results are when your hands are on the opponent for many different reasons. First of all, targeting's much easier. Second reason is you have manipulability of the body. You can manipulate your opponent in many different ways. You can get them to tilt, you can get them to knock off balance, you can pull them in, you can push them away a little bit to get a good long shot on them. But that's where the idea excels. And that's where we took this knockout. It's from a close range fighting, and it's from control off an arm. It could be from a standing grapple where you're clenched, you got your hands on the guy's shoulders, or in one manner or another, inside, outside, both inside, you name it. And this will even work on the ground. This one in particular is a little tougher to handle on the ground. I would do it a slight different way, but it has devastating effects. So again, stay tuned for the extended video. We're going to take you through the knockout. We have it in regular motion. We have it in slow motion. We're showing you exactly what's happening, and we have different angles also, so you get a good, solid look of what's happening without actually being there. And that will be on the extended videos here on YouTube, in the Patreon, and of course in the Platinum subscription. You'll find the links below. One of the first targets that we're going to be enacting is the Keichu. Now, Keichu is in the back of the neck, and it's listed as a fatal target, as we've gone over in prior note discussions. And it's because of the loss of both the organs of sense and motor caused by the stimulation of the brain nerves. This has got another way to be attacked as well. And I go through all the Ohan Soken targets as what they're designated for, and then their more modern use. Now, if it's fainting, it's usually just the way to attack it. But on these fatal targets, they can be highly devastating. But at the same time, they can be utilized to cause incapacitation or unconsciousness very easily without causing the damage or the fatality. And that's what we're going to do in this double RAS attack and knockout. And the other target that we're going to be working with is the Seiden. Now, Seiden was a fainting target, and it's because it causes the disorder of the nervous disorder of the irritated cerebrum. And it shocks the brain, and it will pass the person out. It also has to do, if you hit the Seiden right, there are several Seiden targets. They're not just one. And it's stated as above and below both eyes. And that's because of the supraorbital nerve on the top of the eye, above the eye on the eyebrow, and also the infraorbital nerve underneath the eye. Now, these targets, both of these targets were utilized in this attack. However, they were just used lightly enough to shock the body of the person and the nervous system to have a nervous reaction, and that's a withdrawal reflex to snap the head back. And both of these attacks, one is coming from the back, as you'll see in the demonstration, and that jerks the head backwards. And the reason that does that is because when you strike this particular nerve, it causes a shock in the spine, and it causes all the back muscles to tighten, and that pulls the person, their head back very quickly, which is the first shock on the RAS. And just as the muscles are relaxing and the head is coming into its normal position, upright position, the forearm or bicep comes across the Seiden. And that does the exact same shock on the individual, snaps the head back quickly, and the double shock on the RAS is what causes the body to fail and the knockout to occur. It's pretty powerful, even though you're using soft weapons, as you'll see in this demonstration.
and it will just have a great effect. Now, again, this can be done close range. It's not a distance range. It's a close range combative, and it could be used in grappling. And as I mentioned in the film, you'd have to change the way you did things just a little bit. But attacking the back of the neck and then the front of the brow or underneath the eye is a perfect way to enact this double RAS. Now, you don't have to attack both sides or the RAS twice. Once is sufficient, as you've seen in my single knockout on the RAS. And it's just a disruption of the reticular activating system. Let's get into the reticular activating system and see what that's all about. Now, you'll notice that it's the pathway, the RAS, or the reticular activating system, is a pathway where sense messages is coming in from the body, or are coming in from the body, and going up to be dispersed in different parts of the brain where their sense organs are located. At the same time, motor transmissions are coming from the brain to tell the body how to move and react to the incoming stimulus or at all. It also has the ability to alter the consciousness. This is where your sleep center is, and this is where you have to get calmed to have a good night's sleep, or if it's agitated, then you're going to be more wakeful. So that's a quick synopsis on the reticular activating system. I wanted to get more involved in how to do this knockout and the knockout particulars rather than discuss the reticular activating system, because you can just go online and look that information up. So let's get into the medical examination of the model, and then we'll get into the demonstration at the end. Okay, so we have the model here, and we're going to go over the Keichu and the Seiden. Let's go to the Keichu first, because the Keichu is where we're attacking first. Now, this comes in the slap to the back of the neck. And the area that you can slap is you can catch right at the base of the skull in here and catch a lot of different nerves. That will work just fine. Or you can attack right where the Keichu is on either side, or get to both sides. And that's what I did on this attack. I came in at the inward angle on these, okay, coming toward the eyes on the opponent. And that will cause the head to snap back as the muscles in the back tighten. Let's bring on the muscles too. All those muscles in the back are going to tighten, and the head's going to rock back. So once you strike in this direction, the head is going to quickly shift back as these muscles tighten, these muscles all tighten. Now let's go around and take a look at the Seiden, which is the target on the front. Okay, remember now, Seiden is above the eye and below the eye. So you have the nerves above the eye. Oh, I missed the nerve itself. Okay, that's the supraorbital nerve. Okay, as is the supratrochlear nerve. That's a tough one to say. I usually just call them the supraorbital nerves. I know it's wrong, but I'm not a doctor. I'm just a martial artist. And here is a nerve that you're going to be attacking on the lower part. And this is the infraorbital nerve, which trails, let's see if I can catch that. Okay, right into the eye as well. Now, when I did the strike, what I did was I came across, and I came right across in through here. And I rubbed the eyes, and I didn't try to get the eyes themselves or the lower target, okay? Because at that instance, you're probably going to have some nose damage. You could crack the cartilage right up and through here if you strike across. Now, if you're in a fight, that may or may not be an issue. But for demonstration purposes, using the direction across here to slice through these nerves, but at the same time hitting in toward the center of the head. And as you do that, okay, let's turn this guy around. as you strike across this direction on those nerves, again, the head's going to have a withdrawal reflex and pull back, which is going to stimulate the reticular activating system here because of the pinch, because both the top and the bottom will be compressing, so you'll be pinching off the vertebrae. You'll be activating the brainstem quite a bit. Now let's go down to the brainstem itself. Let's get rid of the muscles. Let's get rid of the glands. Okay, so if we're looking back, your reticular activating system is going to be inside. And let's see if we can get in there just by getting past the structures here. Okay, so this is the spinal cord, and there's a dural matter that's around it. So let's get rid of it. Oh, it just cut the whole thing out. Okay, so it's not going to allow me to do that at this point. So let's go in and do a search on this. Let's see, it doesn't have the reticular activating system. Let's just do the brain and brain stem here. Okay, well, we'll have to approach this a little differently. Let's get rid of the skeleton. There we go. Okay, and we'll get rid of the respiratory tract. Okay, so we have the brain, and right back in here you have the dura. We'll hide that. You'll see that this is more dura. It's pretty protected. Okay, now this is the cranial acanthoid. Okay, and right in through here you have the brain stem. You have the central nervous system of the spinal cord, and in this area, let's get the pen back out. The reticular activating system is right in through here, which I've shown you on other videos that it sends messages to the brain from the senses. When they come down, the senses come in through the nerves or their channels. They go up through and then dispersed to be read by the brain. At the same time, motor nerve transmission is going through the body and out to the particular muscles and or body structures that they need to be withdrawn or tightened or whatever they have to be to escape the damage, or monitoring the sense and how to react to that. So that's a little bit more about the reticular activating system. Let's go on to the demonstration so you can see this.
There's a great motion in there as the split occurs, coming right up underneath, dragging the arm. This, I mean, you just strike on the side of the neck. We've got that nerve attack that I showed you earlier with an elbow attack on earlier in this video, so you see the ramifications of that. Or you could have hit right behind the jaw here. You can also pop the ear, but we're not going to do that. And then you pulled in and then shot forward. So this pull-in is a neurological attack that I'm going to show in detail, and then I'm going to show you the ramifications of the double attack. I'm going to just turn you for a second, Mike. Okay, you have the brain stem coming down here, and you have all sorts of nerves coming off. Okay, if you cup this, you can attack both sides of the nerve system coming out of the neck. Okay, so I'm going to just turn them forward. I'm just going to take a slap. I'm going to use the blood pool hand again, but this time the reverse, not the front of the blood pool. When you're doing martial arts, there's that yin-yang thing you're supposed to deal with. It's not always the yang movement that you're looking for. Sometimes it's the yin movement. If I just tap him, you see this neurological shock go through your butt. Could you explain what that feels like?
Yeah, it was a shock. Went all the way down to my feet.
Right. It does. It feels like electricity. If you want to experiment, just have someone cup you there, or you can take your own hand and cup yourself, and you'll feel that neurological shock. Okay, once I've come into this right here, all I'm going to do is extend the forearm coming right up under the cheekbone like we did the last time, okay, to cause the effect. So, and you got to do this a little slower when you're demonstrating. Just come in with this one. Okay, so I've come right up underneath here. Maybe I've struck them, maybe I missed. And this is why I have to go to this next swinging technique. And I've come in with a strike, it maybe didn't work. So you're going to start to see. Press your legs out a bit. Yeah. Okay, now what that did and why that had such a dramatic effect is because there's a shock on the RAS, or the Reticular Activating System. I'm talking a lot about it. Are you with us yet?
Oh man, I was out.
Yeah. You were still squirming a little bit. Do you remember anything?
No.
No.
That was a good one, man.
You okay?
Yeah.
Can you breathe?
Yeah.
Okay. Sweating?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sit down, just stay there for 1 second. Okay, what happened was when I cupped his head, I got the whiplash to come back just a little bit. And as that neurological message was going to the head, I shifted his head. So there was a quick 1-2 with that movement, which really double shocked the reticular system. And that's going to cause a very deep effect. If you look further back in some of the old DVDs, you'll see where I just grabbed someone's head and spun it. And you could have done that, okay? Later on you'll see another technique that's coming up that you could do that same attack. But when you double attack an RAS, instead of just a one-punch haymaker, you have a much deeper effect on the person.